Advanced English Arabic Learning Session 81. I was entranced by a cluster of trees that were lit up by fireflies. A social media troll is someone who purposely says something controversial. If the surgeon excises the tumor, means all of the tumor is removed. A surgeon may resect part or all of a tumor. A tingling or numb feeling is a condition called paresthesia. It's a sign that a nerve is irritated and sending extra signals. You can dance to your favorite tune, chillax, or have friends over. He entranced the wild beasts. I was entranced by the city's beauty. She was really bummed out that she never got to meet you. She got knocked up when she was on holiday. He deliberately ran against her, knocking her shoulder. She knocked her knee painfully on the table. 2 of the downstairs rooms had been knocked into one. He's younger than his brother, knocking 70. The casing is tough enough to withstand knocks. The region's industries have taken a severe knock. Her heart knocked painfully behind her ribs. All surfaces are cleaned manually or by pressure washer with disinfectant. A tree with heart-shaped leaves and yellowish blossom. The evergreen citrus tree which produces limes, widely cultivated in warm climates. The pale timber is used for carving and inexpensive furniture. The altar was carved from a block of solid jade. Even before he stepped on the self-indulgent, self-destructive merry-go-round of birds and booze. You are like a petulant child. Any plan that is made is liable to be disrupted by supervening events. Business community is funky and its members like to indulge their interests. Cooked greens make the kitchen smell really funky, strongly musty. The preponderance of women among older people. All repeat offenders, but none of them real hard case incorrigibles. She began to tease him, flirting with other men in front of him. He staggered to his feet, limping towards the entrance of the cave. His body searing with pain each time he moved. She regarded his affairs with a casual, slightly amused indulgence. The notice given granted a final indulgence of 4 weeks. A tense thriller about a diamond heist that goes badly wrong. Porch means a covered shelter projecting in front of the entrance of a building. They sat out on the porch for many hours. Within the body, melatonin is secreted within the brain to induce sleep. Insulin is secreted in response to rising levels of glucose in the blood. The assets had been secreted in Swiss bank accounts conceal. The Super Bowl is the annual championship game of the National Football League, NFL. If you proofread this text, it will free me up to get on with the next part. The whole episode has swung from farce to tragedy and back again. Goalpost is either of the 2 upright posts of a goal. You cannot move the goalposts in the mid of game. The defendants withheld rent, alleging that the plaintiffs had breached implied terms. He had a highly retentive memory and was an accomplished speaker. Unless you've been fully briefed beforehand, you haven't a clue what they expect of you. When the stage is dimmed, spotlights are used to create a tight arc of light in which the actors perform. A rolling program of reforms. The rolling countryside. The organization is on a roll, experiencing a prolonged spell of success or good luck. 2 blokes coming out of a pub rolling drunk. 1 minute she would sound like a wounded angel, the next like a streetwise hellion. 1 moment he was against lawsuits, the next minute his team filed one. They're 1 minute gone the next. There's a wind winding through the leafless branches of a tree nearby. While you stand on your front porch. The complainant reposed trust and confidence in the other party. The other party acquired ascendancy over the complainant. Squatter, a person who unlawfully occupies an uninhabited building or unused land. The defendant can be exonerated from paying damages. It can be proved that the plaintiff expressly or impliedly consented to the risk. You won't have me to supply you with free toot. A sales manager on a toot, a spell of drinking and lively enjoyment. Make sure your kids apply mosquito repellent before they step out of the house. Mosquito repellent is a substance that deters mosquitoes from approaching or settling. The oil from cedar wood acts as an excellent mosquito repellent. My brother was all duded up in silver and burgundy. A cheesy grin exaggerated and likely to be insincere. A squall is a sudden, sharp increase in wind speed lasting minutes. A wind gust lasting seconds. Through sickness and health, clear skies, and squalls. I'm quite happy just to putter about by myself here. Susie tossed her rucksack onto the sofa. The tops of the olive trees swayed and tossed. A lot of the teenagers had pre-gamed before they got there. The comments in question were made during last night's pre-game. An organization that is quoted on the stock exchange. They won't be here at all in 3 years' time, you can quote me on that. I realized she was quoting passages from Shakespeare. A military spokesman was quoted as saying that the border was now quiet. Heavy teaching loads are often quoted as a bad influence on research. Quotation from different insurance companies. The whole campaign would be conducted at the grassroots. You have lost touch with the grassroots of the party. The road pursued a straight course over the scrubland. The protesters were unfazed by the prospect of arrest. Men are unlikely to be divested of power without a struggle. Proposals for vetting large takeover bids. Basildon is now the bellwether of Britain's voting behaviour. Maersk, the Danish company often seen as a bellwether for global trade. The fountain exerts a hypnotic influence on children who are irresistibly go paddling in the water. To crash is to come suddenly into contact with another object with great force. To clash is when two, or more, things come together, with force. To crush is to apply force in a manner that causes something to become deformed. My father really blew his stack when I told him. When he came in and saw the mess, he blew his stack at us. I hope we aren't stacked for hours over Kennedy. The odds were stacked against USA in the World Cup. They walk warily down the street, terrified of being caught. A paragon of gentlemanly conduct. The binoculars are compact, lightweight, and rugged. She resolutely refused to be bullied by those around her. The social costs of this growth are glossed over. Shying away from glossing over mistakes. The Japanese word often glossed as sincerity really means something different. He is securely handcuffed to a warden, he was taken to prison. Corks popped, glasses tinkled, and delicate canapés were served. He just folded my delicates, she said. She took the jewel in her hands, holding it delicately. These health professionals sure were birds of a feather. At this vantage point it's possible to have a bird's eye view. She was mortified to see her wrinkles in the mirror. Her view is seconded by most Indian leaders today. She is infatuated with a handsome police chief. In Swan Lake story, Odette spends her days as a swan swimming on a lake of tears and her nights in her beautiful human form. It's our job as coaches to fire them up. To fire up a resume, to update it and add new things to the resume to make it better. Pinky promise to pinky swear is a traditional gesture most commonly practiced amongst children. I had a light bulb moment and vowed to start managing my money better. The violence prompted a wave of refugees to flee the country. The windows were grimed like a coal miner's goggles. I thrive on enthusiasm, don't take the wind out of my sails. Public art is a tonic that can enthuse alienated youth. I don't think the country could ever be self-sufficient in food. Their son was a little bit of a loner and very self-sufficient. The studies throw doubt on whether these businesses are really self-sustaining. The successful company was another notch on the young executive's belt. Staff were pruned, ostensibly to produce a leaner and fitter organization. The man who eats no fat and the wife who eats no lean. I tried to break the ice by talking to the people next to me about the weather. Inhaling vapor from a bowl of hot water may help to clear a stuffy nose. Your phone is tapped. A medic is not a nurse or a physician, but a healthcare specialist trained to give basic medical treatment. The inhabitants of the country has been decimated. Disagreement had threatened to topple the government. I stomped on the accelerator, tread heavily or stamp on. The central plank of the bill is the curb on industrial polluters. Each of these planks has an enormous negative environmental impact. The gangplank seemed so flimsy in every time she boarded a ship. Illustrator is a person who draws or creates pictures for magazines, books, advertising, etc. Margaret remembers vividly the day she received the grim news. Flowers of different hues shining vividly in the bright sunshine. With lush green grass and vividly colored flowers. When push comes to shove, he can usually get the job done. He is not a particularly talented builder. If they want me to do the same job for less money, they can shove it. Push means a short, directed application of force, whereas shove means a rough push. They started pushing and shoving people out of the way. She gave him a hefty shove and he nearly fell. A faint smile stretched her cracked lips. Blood suddenly flowed over her parched lips. They took the plunge and got married last month. The plans have come to fruition rather sooner than expected. Many firms use relocation as an opportunity to shed jobs. These works were a watershed in the history of music. A bicycle shed, a simple roofed structure used for garden storage, to shelter animals, or as a workshop. Gulls are gliding, birds fly with very little movement of the wings. The end. Coming next. Session 82.